Yo, can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear
I
me?
can hear you now.
Here we
Can
go.
you hear me?
My bad. So what's going on, Pride Nation? I'm sorry having a little technical difficulties, but as always, technology will fail you. Happy New Year's, everybody. Just wanted to let everybody know that I am excited to spend another year with you guys and be here another year. And also, I want you guys to be excited with the fact that, yes, we have a guest on. And today's guest is somebody who has been following me for a long time and has been supporting me. And I really do enjoy talking to him because he's going to have a different view. So let me just put this out there before we get started, that there will be a trigger alert. Now, I'm putting the trigger alert out there. I know, son. I know. We're gonna get through this, though. We're gonna make this happen. All right. So there will be a trigger alert. So today's guest is not a Lions fan, but let's talk a little football. What's going on, man?
Everything is everything. How's everybody doing? Happy New Year's.
Hey, man, Happy New Year's to you as well. It says, what up with Luke G? Andre Cisco gang. I'm telling you, 13 interceptions. I bet you we ain't got nobody on this team who's got 13 interceptions on this roster in a Lions career. Now, watch how people go and be like, we got people who got 13 interceptions on this team. The key word was in their Lions career. You heard that, right? Not a Lions fan, but you heard that key word I put in there, right? In their Lions career. But anyway, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, because one of the things that got him wanting to come on and talk some sports is that he has some serious different views, starting with his view of a former head coach. And I think that's where we're going to pick this thing up. Now, let me get this straight, bro. You were a Matt Patricia supporter. Fair enough to say, right?
That's correct. That is correct.
And you didn't feel that he should have been fired.
Yes and no. And let me make sure that's clear. Fired, yes, but at the time that they did it or how they did it, I don't agree with that.
Got it. Okay. Well, let's talk about it then. Let's talk about it. Tell me why you were a Matt Patricia supporter, and tell me why you didn't like the way that the firing went in terms of the timing.
Well, first off, I'm a Quin guy, and Patricia was part of that package deal. So I understand when they fired them both. But I'm a Quin guy. And the reason why I'm a Quin guy, because I like how he's structured. You know, he seems like he was a guy that had a plan. I just don't think the guy that he brought along was part of the plan long term. You know, what I'm trying to say is that with Patricia couldn't get out his own way. So with that to be said, he deserves to be fired. But as far as him being a coach, his system pretty much did work. He just couldn't get out his own way. So that's why I supported Patricia and Quin. But I'm mainly a Quin guy.
Okay, and so you also had an issue with, like you said, with the timing. What was wrong with the timing of firing him? Because for me, I was a person who basically said, nah, I wanted Matt Patricia. The only reason I didn't want him fired until the end of the season was because I wanted them to fire Bob Quin and watch Matt Patricia squirm and sweat. That was just my own maniacal view of doing it. Plus, we couldn't get no new head coach no way, but we can certainly look for that general manager. And so my thing is with you, why did you have an issue with them firing him? I mean, obviously we got blew out on Thanksgiving by like 100 points. We got blew out by the Panthers. Like literally shut out by the Panthers. Why did you have a problem with the timing of them firing them?
Well, the only problem that I have with that is that the time that they fired them, it was like, what's the point? Other than try to send a message that, hey, we're going to do things a little differently. Other than that, they're talking about the wins and loss of how he lost and everything else. If it came down to that, they should have got rid of him a year or two before that, because the team was pretty much bad, or not, at the start of it versus the end of it. So I'm against that whole deal that, how they did it. If you're going to fire him, you should have brought him in. You shouldn't have brought him in to begin with of the beginning of this season. I should say it that way.
Okay, so for you, if you're firing him before the start of his third campaign, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. And the fact that they let him come here, let me reverse the question for you. What benefit would it hold to not fire him and let him coach it out this season?
Say that again.
What would be the benefit of them not firing him and letting them coach it out this season?
Well, it pretty much is not much benefit. It's like nowhere. If he's here, if he's not, it's going to be one of the same. Because I don't think nothing was in place to make a next move. So either which way it go, if he's here, it's like in the same position that they actually in if he's not here. So that sounds a bit like a contradictory type deal, but I just don't see is it much of a difference, if that's making any sense. If not, I understand.
All right, now I had to do this to my homie. Dr. Detroit, but that's a blue pill alert. We gotta get a blue pill alert going, because this statement right here is ridiculous. Okay, I have told y'all that in 2021 you cannot come in here saying crazy stuff. Okay, so Dr. Detroit comes in and says if we drafted Herbert, we would be in a position to keep making runs. We are 35 points away. 35 points away from matching the worst defense in the Lions' history of 2008, where they went 0-16. And we are sitting up here talking about, had we took Herbert, we would be still making a run. The Chargers is barely surviving. And their defense is not even giving up. Defense is giving up. What runs are we making with this pathetic defense and that coaching? That's a blue pill statement right there. I told y'all we're not doing this. I told y'all. So, Dr. Detroit, you want to address this? I mean, I'm just going to call it a blue pill move. It's blue pill all day.
If I may say something about that, to that question, to that statement. Mm-hmm. I will ask the question, what is the single problem on this defense? What is the biggest or the largest problem that they actually have on this defense?
Scheme,
right?
Scheme and personnel attached to the scheme. So it's kind of like a half and half to come to my one. So it's half scheme and half personnel. We got a lot of backups trying to work in a scheme that's not working. But that's what I would say is the number one issue. And then on top of that, when you look at those backups playing, we are in the top 10 for missed tackles. So again, that's contributed to that personnel.
That's where I sort of back up Patricia at. Even with that being said, and that's completely facts. But the way I back up Patricia is like in every game that he was in, it was either, well, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, majority of the games that it was actually winning going into the fourth quarter or so forth. But his biggest problem was that he wasn't able to sustain it or to close it out.
That was last year.
What last year? I mean, well, okay.
That was last year. He picked it back up some in parts of this season, but that was you talking about, that fourth quarter blown and stuff like that. A lot of that was mostly last year. This year, it's either been up or down. You know what I mean? And then we have a few spurts of where we got to the fourth quarter with the lead. But like an example would be like when we went against who was that we played earlier this year and we got up on them earlier. Was it Green Bay? I want to say it was like Green Bay. It was one of those. I think it was Green Bay. We got up on them, and then once we got up on them, we never saw that lead after that. It was gone, like in a matter of minutes. So again, just saying.
I guess that is my point to Patricia. Why I would get rid of him, or why I back up or support the reason why they got rid of him, because he didn't have a second gear. I believe everything that he knew was based upon what he learned in New England, but it was never battle tested. This goes to the point that you made before about why does coaches have to come here and have this be like the trial basis for them to develop into who they're going to be. So that's the problem what I believe what Patricia had. He never had another gear. On the other hand, where he came from, Bill Belichick is he's well-rounded because he's been pretty much in every situation you possibly could put him in. Not just coaching wise, but assistants, line coaching, linebacker coach, everything. He know how to do pretty much everything. Patricia wasn't that well-rounded. And so I think that basically alienated him away from this team, away from his players and everything. And that's why I believe why it fell apart for him and why he deserved to go. Yeah,
but it fell apart before that. It fell apart when he came in talking to grown men, talking about don't suck this and don't suck that. It fell apart when he came in yelling at people for telling them to be in a position that they was at, or yelling at them for being late, but being late himself. You see, leadership reflects attitude. And when you look at the attitude of this team, that shows me everything I need to know about this head coach. And so when you say that, you back him, I get confused, because for me it don't make sense. Dr. Detroit say, if you disagree, you on a blue pill. It's not. Your statement makes no sense. That's why it's a blue pill. If you're going to say that we're going to bring somebody in, to take over, then show me where we're getting it done at. I don't see it. Like I said, we're 35 points away. If on Sunday they score 35 points, they will match it. If that team scores more than 35 points, then they will set the new record for the worst defense in Lions history. It's just that simple. It's that bad. We also talked about this too, not a Lions fan, but we also talked about what's the word I want to use? We talked about the general manager hiring process and head coach, who should be the next head coach, who should be the next general manager, and you had some thoughts on that as well, and some things that we should be looking for when it comes to a general manager or a head coach. What are your thoughts on that?
First and foremost, they have to be in a position to produce quality over quantity. It's one thing to come here with how you've been and how you've done it before somewhere else, but Detroit is a very unique place. It's not like another franchise that actually has something going. There's nothing going here since 91? So there's nothing really in place. That's why I predominantly like Quin, because he was putting something in place from the top all the way down. It just didn't get down to that extent that, quickly or quick enough. But when it comes to a general manager, give me someone who's innovative, someone's creative, basically that has no ties to this organization at all. I want them to be able to come fresh and be able to have a clean slate to be able to do what they would like to do. And that's going to be tough, because the history shows that somehow that doesn't go that way. Somehow there's mingling or, something with, those who are in that type of position. So that's my take. Go ahead.
Red pill alert. Red pill alert. Mr. Devil99 says, imagine your first pick in a rebuild being a wide receiver. That's the most Lion thing that could happen. Oh, Jesus. Just, I gotta call them off. I call out the blue, I gotta call out the reds. You know, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the logic is most Lions fans think that we need to do a rebuild, which is something me and you gonna get into next. And I think it needs to be a renovation. Just a little touches there, fix a little few things, get it nice, get it cosmetically beautiful. And the idea of us taking a receiver 7th overall. Let's see, the last receiver we took 7th overall, I believe, was Roy Williams. That helped the franchise out. That was brilliant. I mean, listen. Plus, I don't even think. Watch this. Watch this. Not a Lion fan, but I don't think Devontae Smith is the best receiver in this draft. I would still take Jamar Chase over Devontae Freeman. 100% would take Jamar Chase over Devontae Smith. Not Freeman, Devontae Smith. I would take Jamar Chase over Devontae Smith all day and twice on Sundays. I really thoroughly enjoy what Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase to me is as polished of a route runner as Devontae Adams, and still has the speed and explosion that you want to be aggressive after the run.
If I may comment to that, this is my question to the Lions fans. When it comes to a receiver, period, would you say our problem is offense or defense? You pretty much say defense.
It's defense. Yeah, it's defense. Yeah.
Offense is not even. It's proven that even with Stafford, I'm not a Stafford guy, but even with proven with Stafford, he can go get somebody off the street and they can become significant in his offense, whatever. If it's Jim Brown Cooter or if it's Bevel, he can get it going. So receivers, you can pick somebody off the street for Stafford. But defense is what I'm saying. It's like build a defensive line or linebacker core. Give me a piece that will plug it, because the offense is going to take care of itself if Stafford's here. But that's my take about that. I can care less about that whole wide receiver thing.
Yeah, it just don't make sense. Devil99 says, I don't even know what the red pill means. So there was a movie that came out back in, the 90s, called The Matrix. And so Morpheus was a almost like a oracle to trying to find this legendary person who happened to be Neo. Now, here's what the red pill represents. The red pill represents you being able to wake up, deal in reality, even though it may not be what you like. You may not like what you see. It may not be what you want to see, but that's the reality. Like, for example, if you go and look at your bank account and your bank account ain't got no money in it and you mad about it, you have dealt with that reality. Damn it, it's empty. It's empty. But the blue pill, that blue pill is for those people who wish to stay asleep, who want to stay in La La Land, who want to stay unaware of the reality. They want to create their own alternate reality to make sense of what they're saying and what they're doing. And so the blue pill person are these people who will see that empty bank account and go, the money's coming, but they don't have a job. The money's coming, but they're not doing anything to put money there. The money's coming, and they're just doing it with the idea that if I just believe that it's coming, it would be money in that account. They are delusional. They are confused. And they are not willing to deal with reality. So I'm simply just pointing out that when people make statements that deal in reality, that makes sense, that has a logic behind it, that can be supported, you are in the red pill group. But if you come in here and you say something crazy, like the Lions need to draft, the Lions need to come in and they need to draft 3 quarterbacks. What are the odds of them doing that? That's not realistic. And why would they do that? What's the purpose of doing that? That doesn't make sense. And so to me, that's where you get it. Buffed Up said, I've never saw The Matrix. Boy, stop playing with me. Man, what? That's like classic.
Well, I must testify to that. I never saw it myself. I never saw it myself either.
Oh, my God. Y'all got to stop playing. You know what? It's in the 90s, people. Check it out. Check it out. All right. So I want to give you some pushback because on the general manager and the thing, you say you want somebody who has no ties to this place. Well, we did that. We did that with Bob Quin. And your argument is there was success with Bob Quin doing that. It was just his failure of bringing in Matt Patricia. So you think that was his biggest, worst mistake right there?
Yeah.
All right. Dr. Detroit. He said red pill is code for Luke agrees. Blue pill is Luke agrees and likes what you're saying. Nah, red pill is what red pill is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about if I agree. You can tell me right now that I'm an idiot. Support your answer. Don't just come in and say I'm an idiot, because at that point, I'm going to say, yep, red pill alert. I'm going to say blue pill alert, because you're not dealing in reality. Tell me why I'm an idiot. Tell me why you feel what I am. Just support your answer, and we can have the conversation. I can, I'm okay with being wrong or being disagreed upon, but tell me why. Don't just come in and be like, you suck. Well, that's helpful. So no. Benjamin Foe says Lou G thinks he's the Morpheus now. Nah, Morpheus field review. Now I don't think I'm Morpheus, but there is a large populace of this fan base that is delusional. You know that. I mean, think about it. The one thing we love more than anything else are receivers. We really, we just love them. I don't know why, but we do. Yep, I get it. Red pill good, blue pill bad. Blue pill ain't necessarily bad. It's just that you got your own alternate reality. It's not in real reality. You know what I'm saying? It's like those people who I'm gonna stay away from that. That's politics. I'm gonna stay away from that. That's politics. I had to catch myself. Let me see. So let's see. Let's go with this one. Well, it seems like Luke has took the blue pill. See, tell me why. I'm okay with you feeling like I took the blue pill. Tell me why. Why I took the blue pill. I'm objective. The thing is, be objective. Now let's talk about this, because one of the things that I know we was going to definitely touch on was, this idea of a rebuild and how the rebuild should go about being done, how we can achieve this, how we get that done. Tell me this. Give me your view of how we do this rebuild.
Well, I agree with you when it comes to renovation, but when it comes to rebuild, I think the rebuild starts with the ownership. And what I mean by that is, it depends about the team is going to be built in their image. If it's going to be based upon quality or quantity, quantity represents if you're going to put people in the seats and so forth. As long as it makes you money, revenue, you're cool. But if it comes about quality, you're basically talking about not just putting people in seats. You want to see results, and not just any type of results. You have standards of results. So my rebuild starts with the ownership. And I don't know much about Miss Hamp. I don't know much about her. But I'm going by what you're telling me. If she's gonna be on it, she's gonna be on it. But she can't let off the gas at one drop. She got to separate herself from how her parents did it. She really got to make her own lane, and that's why I say it starts with her, with quality over quantity.
Okay. Now you also was one of the people that believed that Sheila was no different from the parents and everybody else. Correct.
Correct.
And why did you feel like that?
Well, if I don't want to use the phrase, but I use it anyway. Walk like a duck, quack like a duck. So, but at the same time, I'm wrong as well, because I'm not giving her a fair shot, of her paving her own way. But if there's any connection to that, previous ownership, if she do it anyway, then the results is not going to shift any differently. It may start off a certain way. You may go out and do something out the gate a little different than what they did it from or did it as, but at the same time, the results may falter back to the same. So if she's going to put her foot on the gas and be separated from them, she's going to have to make her own way across the board all the way down. So in other words, I'm saying it really going to have to become her baby versus it's just something to do, a hobby. Go ahead.
Okay. One of the things that I look at is there have been significant changes already. I mean, the fact that Lions football is back on the radios is huge. The fact that we got football guys in office is huge for her change and her differences. And so those things stand out to me to be different. But I can understand your apprehension. I can understand any Lions fan's apprehension on the belief that she's any different. I mean, seriously, she's a part of that family. She was around for a significant amount of time. She did help make some of the decisions, but the difference is it's one thing we ask somebody for an opinion for their decision making and being the one who ultimately makes the decision. And so I always respect that. Martin's landed in the building. What's going on? He says, Luke, how you feel about the Alabama quarterback in the second round? He reminds me of Jimmy Garoppolo. And my attitude to it is I think if he goes to a team with the right situation, then I guess he would be okay. But in terms of the Lions, not here. Not here. Mm-hmm. You got to be built different. And I fear Alabama quarterbacks because when they're in Alabama, they got everything. They got receivers. They got running backs. They got offensive line. They got defense. They got good coaching. When they come to the Lions, they're not getting all that. And how do you show where you can be built a certain way to where you don't have any problems? I just don't see that to be the case. Dr. Detroit says you took the blue pill because we need to draft a quarterback with the first pick. Whatever we do after that is whatever, but we can't screw the first pick up again. Are you saying that we need to take a quarterback with the first pick, or are you saying that we don't need to take one with the first pick? I'm confused. Because if you're saying that we need to take a quarterback with the first pick, then we're in agreement. So if I'm taking the blue pill, you definitely are the blue pill, double the dosage. Right, then we're in agreement. I've been saying that if you're picking in anywhere between 1 and 12, you have to take a quarterback. What? Dr. Detroit been drinking a lot since yesterday. I can tell. Because I'm like, he said, okay, no, we on the red pill. I've been set. Not a Lion fans, but had that not been my statement from the get-go that if you're picking anywhere in the top 12, you got to take a quarterback. Yeah. And you got to let them sit behind Stafford. That's what I've been saying. And one of the reasons, I've said this too, I said one of the reasons I didn't want a quarterback last year is because we're going to be picking in the top 10. Mm-hmm. Where are we picking at? Tell me when we picking it. Top 10. Thank you. See? But the reason I want a quarterback is because I believe once we take this quarterback with better coaching, I know we're not picking in the top 10 in 2022. I know we're not. Hands down, we would not be picking in the top 10. Okay? So let me see. One prize says Mac Jones is trash. Again, Luke, I need your help. Is Alabama quarterback cool in a second? Listen, again, I'm not doing it. He's going to come from a perfect storm to a hurricane. And it's unpredictable. And how the winds build up and go down, we don't know. And I don't trust somebody to come here with our history that's not fully battle tested. It's just not going to work. Yeah, I'm with you, Benjamin. Never trust Alabama ones. So in terms of the rebuild for me, here's what it looks like. You got to go in. You got to be able to evaluate who stays, who goes. Now, once you determine who stays and everybody else is gone, now you got to do the same thing that you're seeing with the general manager from the Pistons. You got to get aggressive. You got to get aggressive in the draft. You got to get aggressive in the free agency. And you got to add those players back in. You got to find people who are hungry, who people said it's not good, who people said will not be anything, and you get them going, okay? And then when you turn around and you add those pieces in, you then can at least say, boom, I got something to build upon. The problem is if you look at the Jim Schwartz era, with Jim Schwartz, he took Stafford. They turned around. They got a chance at Sue. But the thing about Jim Schwartz, why you saw more Lions fans respect what Jim Schwartz did was there were cornerstones at offense and defense that you had to look at and go, interesting, right? And so when you look at a Matt Patricia team, there was no cornerstones. And so when the next head coach come in to do these renovations, he's going to come in and say, okay, what can I come in and get rid of? And then who can I go out to help become the cornerstone? And that's where it's going to be different. So that's where I look at it. It says if the Lions get a quarterback in the first round, they need to go best player available minus a tight end or running back. There's too many holes to worry about drafting positional needs. Agree. Take the talent. Sheila ain't using a search firm too. That's last time we used a firm, we got Quin. That is true. That's why she got a whole committee. All right, here goes some information I can go with. Thank you, Legendary Sportscast. You took the blue pill by you saying that we need renovations instead of rebuilding the offense, and defense was bad. So it all needs to be fixed. You also think we need to get Stafford a build around him. We need to get Stafford a building around him. What?
In other words, support.
Well, okay, because I was like, I wasn't getting it. But these kind of statements, I would never have a problem with, because you're at least telling me what your thoughts are, and I can follow it, and I can understand. So, no. If you believe I took the blue pill because I think it's renovations, fine. I can't argue with that. You can believe that. I don't think that we need to tear everything down. Do I agree with your belief that we need to rebuild the offense? Why? Rebuild it with what? For what? Why?
Wow.
The offensive line, you got 3 good offensive line, really 3.5, depending on how you cap it. But the offensive line don't need a lot of work. You could probably really add 1 offensive lineman to this offensive line, and it's good to go. You got a tight end, you got a running back, and you got a capable quarterback. And so the offense is not that big of a deal to me. Can you add more receivers? Yes. That's what I mean by being aggressive in free agency. That's what I mean about being aggressive in the draft. There are receivers in this draft that you're going to be able to get in later rounds. Hell, I like Kadarius Toney from Florida, right? Reminds me a lot of Titus Young. But I'm just saying, that's cool. Now, the defense, do you got to tear that down? Probably, but the problem is even in tearing that down, it can't be a rebuild because you got Jeff Okudah. What you doing with his contract? What are you doing with Trey Flowers' contract? You still got John Pennicini. You still got Amani. You still got Trey Flowers.
Okay.
So that's what I mean. But I do appreciate you, at least giving me more information I can work with to have the conversation. What are your thoughts on that? That we got to rebuild the offense and defense.
Well, I definitely disagree with that, but I do understand his perspective. But no, I still with a part of the minority saying that they was like a couple pieces away on defense for actually being legit, even with a bunch of backups, so-called starting. But as far as like a rebuild, they cool. The offense is cool. In other words, the offensive line is pretty much great, in my opinion. Not great as in elite great, but they're like one player away, like I would say starting left guard away. And if I were to be more specific about that, give me a guy that plays at Ragnar level, or if not better. Now, I don't know if that's going through the draft, free agency, or trade, however you got to do it, get it. And my offensive line take care of itself. That's my running game. That's my tight end. That's everything. You give me a solidified offensive line, that's something that Stafford has never had. And they almost in place for that. There's no need to get a rebuild. You could probably extend Stafford's career a couple seasons if so. But anyway, that's my take. Go ahead.
No, I mean, listen, I can follow your logic on this. And I see Dead Pizza said he don't like none of the quarterbacks in this class. The thing is, even if you didn't like quarterbacks in this class, right? I do. I think there's some quarterbacks in this class that I like. It's even better when I know that I can let them sit, versus just tossing them into the fire. So I
do have a question for you. About the quarterback. What is your perspective about David Blau? Do you think you could win with him or no?
Yeah, I do. I do believe you can win with him. With the right coaching, yes. But do I believe that he would be consistent enough for you to avoid having to take a quarterback? No. Nowhere near. Like I said, he's one of them guys who can come in and be more than a capable backup. I remember who's the guy we used to always have? Was it Sean Hill that we had that would come in games and be just capable enough to get it done? He wasn't mobile. This guy is mobile and is capable enough to getting it done. And so for me, I'm okay with him, if as being a logical backup. Hell, I was so okay with it. I didn't understand why we spent $13 million for Chase Daniels. I don't
exactly.
I mean, and it wasn't just $13 million. It was a 3-year deal. $13 million. Like what? For what? For what? But I also have a lot of.
Go ahead.
I also have a lot of unpopular opinions about players in this draft that people are going to be pissed off about. Like to me, to me, there are some players that people love that I just wouldn't touch. I'm gonna leave it alone. Trust me, I'm gonna save it for another show. Y'all gonna find out. But go ahead. Go ahead.
What I was gonna say, like that whole chase, whatever, the backup quarterback. That was I think that out of all the signings that they did going to that was the worst one for me. More so than Jesse James and all that other stuff, and that was the worst one because I saw a little bit of future in David Blau. Especially how they overall at the end of it, they started to protect them from other teams, pick them off the practice squad and stuff like that. I never did understood and take in consideration why I think they was desperate or afraid of of throwing in a rookie or whatnot, so they went ahead and try to go get a vet, but they got the wrong vet. So I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
No, it's all good. Rod Love 313 says, "How do you feel about Fields as our number one pick?" Nah. Am I allowing him to sit? I probably wouldn't care. See, what I've come to learn is a lot of the times people don't look like they can fit the bill and stuff. But a coach can put a quarterback or a player in the right position to succeed, no matter how good or bad they are. You know what I mean? It just had to boil down to it. Have I seen worse than Fields in this league have success? Yes. But it's the coaching that helped it. And so if you're telling me he can sit, I'm okay with it. Now, would you tell me if he's somebody I would prefer? No. Because one of the things about Fields is, and one of the things I have with a lot of the mobile quarterbacks is they are always reliant on their athletic ability. My attitude to it, I need the quarterback to act as if though he don't know he can run. And so when I look at people like Zach Wilson, he understands that he can run. He knows he can run. He just also understands that I don't need to rely on my athletic ability. And so one of the people that reminds me of is people like Aaron Rodgers and people like Russell Wilson, who know they can take off at any moment's notice, yet they don't rely on their athletic ability. They're looking to pass the ball first. Run is a secondary option, and in most cases, third. So if you're bringing him in here with the idea that he's sitting and having the time to learn, and you're building an offense around him to succeed, then I'm good with it. But if you're telling me bringing him in and he start, no, I'm not with that idea. Would you think that's a fair point? Not a Lions fan, but
yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
All right, let's see. Let's keep going down here. I want to try to hit on everybody's stuff. Let me see. What did I miss? I don't see anything else. I'm saying going down here. All right, so it says quarterback class is pretty good this year, first and second round. I mean, like I said, you're going to get some options. The goal is to make sure that you're doing it in a way that sets this team up for success down the road. Dolo Dynamite, Cincy quarterback Desmond Ryder. Now, that's a quarterback I would take over Mac Jones. I take Ryder over Mac Jones all day. Like I like Ryder's style of play. I gotta watch a little bit more film to kind of dig further into it to get a more of a quarterback comparison. But Mac Jones to me reminds me so much of Jimmy Garoppolo. And to me, that's not like a great thing to me. Not the injury part, but just the way he throws and stuff. I think the quarterback class is stacked this year. There are guys like Jamie Newman. Teams can probably get in the third round this year. Could be. Dead Pizza is tripping. This quarterback class is mad deep. But Dead Pizza got an opinion. As a Lions fan, we think our offense is good, but they are not. Swift is not that good. He barely has less than 500 yards. In the O-line, are you serious? How did Stafford get hurt? Both blue pills.
There's so much to say about that.
Go ahead, man. Speak on it. Listen. If as long as he's posting detailed messages like that, I ain't mad at his opinion. That's his view. Yeah. I'm not. But yeah. if it's not just him, if somebody come in here and just you suck, and what about it? Talk to me. This right here is him talking to me. He feels that Swift is not that good, and he feels that the O-line is trash, and so that's why we're on blue pills. So, what are your thoughts on this, man?
I have one question for the fans is what kind of team do y'all want? Do y'all want something like glitz and glamour and all that good stuff, or y'all want something that's consistent? that's constantly in contention. And I asked that question because I hear a lot of fans where they go to a player that's a highlight film guy, or when it comes to drafting, they go to the hot name and everything. But I think the problem with this organization have always been they're trying to go back in the image of what they had with Barry, when he was spectacular and they get that guy that's flashy and he carried the team for the most part. But when you have the opportunity now, you can actually build on what you're already building on. Like, you got almost an elite offensive line. And that's kind of hard for me to say with the Lions, but they almost have an elite offensive line. And when it comes to them, for like Stafford getting hurt, it's still a collective unit. If you don't have one person doing their job, it's going to fall apart because you got everybody else doing somebody else's job. So it's kind of hard to, to go with that direction for us, of saying that they don't have a good line because of this or that. But if you got one piece that's missing in comparison to that piece that's actually there, you can actually have that much of a difference of actually having from an elite offensive line to a not elite offensive line. That's my opinion. Go ahead.
Again, I don't have to say anything. See, there's a line of logic that a person can hear in any statement that they can follow. The idea that a guy who's underutilized at running back in Swift and the number of yards that he got in that underutilization tells me everything I need to know. And so when I see these kind of statements, I just go, okay. Okay, because like I said, I'm not gonna knock him because he at least giving me some kind of conversation to work with. But at the end of the day, Swift not that good. He barely has less than 500 yards. The O-line, are you serious? How did Stafford get hurt? Both blue pills.
It's a lot. Stafford gets a lot. There's so much to say with that. It's the offensive line.
I just don't. Listen again. This is why when I say blue pill alert, I want y'all to follow the logic behind this, because according to him, we got to blow it all up. Everything got to go. Ain't nothing on this team worth keeping. It's all scrapped up, and that's just not the truth. That's not true.
I agree.
The belief that there's nothing worth keeping on offense, nothing worth keeping on. That's just not true. So, Marcus Willis says. Micah Parsons is Jared Davis 2.0. Don't even get me started. Wait till you see my video. Wait till you see my video, because I need to figure out what's wrong with this fan base. I don't understand why this fan base literally hear a new name, same player, and think, ooh, shiny. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the infatuation is with it. If we're going defense, give me Cincy quarterback Ryder in the late rounds at Luke. I'm okay with that. The question is, who are you taking at that pick on defense? And if that person that you're telling me is Parsons, then you can't be serious, because I know that you are one of the people who don't like Jared Davis. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was you who said Jared Davis is hot garbage. Could be wrong. Could not be. Parsons is a better 3-4 outside linebacker, in my opinion, than a middle linebacker. I like Nick Bolton. And a little later, Chad. See, Chad, that's Chad, number 21 from North Carolina, I think he is. I'm trying to remember names to these damn players. It's hard, but I think that's number 21 from North Carolina. I don't like the way he tackles, but again, he does tackle. Nick Bolton is just a thumper. So Nick Bolton to me is more would be like what we had with Arnie Sims.
You're talking about his play, or is his aggressiveness? His
aggressiveness.
Okay.
That's what I would get with that. But I'm not gonna knock you for thinking he's an outside linebacker, because I can see that. I can see where he would be even better in that regard. But I think he can play all of them, so it don't make a difference. Marcus Davis is elite, bro. Marcus Davis. That name ain't ringing no bells for me. I'm sorry. JGB had to laugh at that remark. Swift isn't that good. I'm just here so I won't get fined. That's all. I'm just here so I won't get fined. Now let me ask you this, because one of the other things that we talked about in terms of the football, because you talked about the Lions going back to the Barry Sanders days. Now I'm going to tell you why that could be a bad thing and a good thing. Mostly a good thing. The reason it's a good thing is because I believe that is sustainable football. running the ball, playing defense, and asking your quarterback not to kill you is sustainable football. And the way I know that is Kansas City. They're not asking every game for Patrick Mahomes to win the game. They're running the ball, playing defense, and they have marquee players on both sides of the ball. And when I look at the Lions, going back to 1991 when Eric Kramer came in to take over for Rodney Peete, who got hurt, Eric Kramer was then asked to do the same. Don't kill us. You know, they tried to have him win the game and it failed. We lost, I think 2 games back to back after trying to have him do it. But when they realized, let's put the ball on the ground, let's run it, and and do it, we'll be better. And so to me, it don't make sense. It is what it is. JGB says he's staying away from OSU quarterbacks. I'm not mad at you. Like I said, if he got to sit, that's one thing. But I remember the Lions fan base wanted Jamarcus Russell. The Lions fan base wanted Dwayne Haskins. Then they went from Haskins to Tua. And then they went, and then when Tua fizzles out, they're gonna say, well, I wanted Herbert all along. Then Herbert fizzle out. Well, the Lions so trash they couldn't draft. Then it's gonna be like, well, no, they got who y'all wanted. Then it's gonna turn into, well, the ownership sucks. We gotta sell the team. Well, the team not getting sold. So there's this movement of the goalpost that I'm used to. That makes no sense. Please know Ian Book. Hey, y'all got to give me school name and numbers. Y'all got to give me some. Y'all got to give me names and numbers with the school because I it's too much to remember these people's names. Some of these names ain't spelled the way that you would expect it to be spelled, and I'm easier to remember the number in the school. Go get me Trey Sermon to pair with Swift. I think they are going to add another running back. The question is who.
When? Here,
right.
Who and when?
Well, I mean, they're going to get it in free agency. They're not. I don't think. Okay. I will hope they draft somebody. There's a few people I think we can draft and get them. I ain't gonna lie. Mm-hmm. Dr. Detroit says elite O-line. Where? We have a great center, a real good left guard, and a good left tackle. That's a very good start. If you go through and look at the Dallas Cowboys and how everybody swear their line was great, go through. They had Tyron Smith. They had the good center, Zach Martin. And then they had that other guard. That was it. And then they had 2 scragglers out there. And everybody talked about how great that offensive line was. Now we got 3 good offensive linemen, and it's not great.
Well, I mean, was that comment towards me, or was that in general?
No, that was towards you. That was towards you when you said we got close to an elite line, and he didn't like it.
Yeah, but I stand by saying that they are like one piece away from being elite.
Facts.
I didn't say they are elite.
Facts.
But they are one piece away from being elite, and that's why I think the investment should go more so than a receiver or actual skill position. Because I mean, how often do they say build it through the trenches? You actually are close to doing it.
Facts.
With the offensive line. So why not do it? And then you ship over to the defensive line and work your way back. Go ahead.
All right. B. Willis D. Harris says, do you like Urban Meyer as a coach for the Lions? I don't think we got enough pull to get him here. Would I be okay if he came here? Sure. If you okay with him bringing in some of that college stuff, that's going to get figured out and fizzled out quickly. But do I feel comfortable enough with him coming in and doing it? Yes. He's a winner with a winner pedigree, and if at all nothing else, he's willing to even cheat to get the win. Everywhere he's been, there's been some type of controversy about him cheating. Am I right? Florida, they said he was cheating. Ohio State, they said he was cheating. I mean, so
Everywhere you go, you got that tag with him. Yeah.
I'm just saying. So, but if you're okay with him, what they say, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. you ain't trying to win. I mean, so if you're okay with that, I'm okay with it. Again, I just want some logic on it. But I personally would want David Shaw if I'm going into the college ranks personally from Stanford. Steve O says, I don't mind the running back by committee. It's done with some common sense. The common sense ain't common, Steve O. You know this. I don't care who we get. They just need to be an impactful player. Bingo.
I agree.
If we for some reason don't get a quarterback, whoever you get need to be able to come in, hit the ground running, and be impactful. When they took Okudah, and I took all this heat for saying he ain't a top 10 pick, ain't nobody finna tell me today, he look like a top 10 pick. All I keep hearing is in a couple of years.
If I may say something about the Okudah thing.
Go ahead.
What made Okudah great at Ohio State? Was it the just him by himself, or was it like his surrounding?
The surrounding team.
All right, there it is. That's all I need.
The surrounding team. Because when I went through and I made my video, the first thing I noticed in doing the video is he never traveled with the best receiver. The person who did that was Arnett, and that's the guy that's playing for the Raiders. I hear feedback right now.
Oh, do you?
Yep. All right. But that's the guy that was doing a lot of the traveling. And so I went through and I looked at who they played, and the game that scared me was the Michigan game when he went against Donovan Peoples, and I'm forgetting the other receiver name. It's gonna come to me in a minute. They was killing him. They were, but the quarterback, Shea Patterson, horrible. And so he was missing a lot of hits. Dynamite says, Greg, hold on, I got to mute because I still hear feedback.
I'll mute it. Go ahead.
All right. Greg Rasul, Miami's first, Luke. He's still too raw. He's just too raw, man. For me, he a little bit too raw. And I don't know if I'm with that one. I mean, he really does remind me of Ziggy Ansah, and that scares me in terms of the rawness. Ziggy Ansah, I think, had really one amazing season with us, and that was I think the most accidental season I ever seen in my life from a DN. With our defense being as bad as it is, would you be mad if with only 5 picks, the draft went quarterback in the first, wide receiver in the second, running back in the third? Oh, hell yes, man. What are your thoughts on that?
Indeed. I'm trying to stay away from offense predominantly unless I get that elite quarterback out the gate. Other than that, no, I'm trying to stay away from the offense.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I look at, and you can't do that. you just can't do that. To do that to me is ridiculous. It's ridiculous to do just that. Let me see. Let me keep coming down. Y'all are hot. JD doesn't have the length to effectively play outside linebacker. If JD could add 4 inches to his wingspan, then he'd be comparable to JD. Is built for middle linebacker only. No, I don't know. Let me be clear. Damn some. We didn't say that JD is meant to be an outside linebacker. What we said is that most people, most Lions fans, most analysts are listing Micah Parsons as a middle linebacker. And we all agree, at least me, you can call me Funk, agree that Jared Davis is an inside linebacker. But when you look at the overall scheme of it, they both are aggressive when they tackle. They both take on blockers. They both can blitz good, and they both not that good in coverage. And so, essentially, they're the same player. Because it's not like you're adding a Micah Parsons because he can do something that Jared Davis can't, like cover. That's not true. He likes to attack. Jared Davis likes to attack. And so if you keep both of them and you're running the 3-4 with them as your inside linebackers, you got a scary situation. But I agree with you that, I'm not putting JD at outside linebacker. In most cases, however, I will put JD. I will try him out at weak side linebacker. I can see him doing that, though, be honest with you. But if you're telling me that the natural position should be inside linebacker and a 4-3, let me make sure I'm clear about this. In a 4-3, inside linebacker is where he should be. In a 3-4, he got to be the weak side linebacker. He has to. You can't put him in the inside because he's going to play it too much to the beat. So that's what I'm trying to say. A lot of times I try to keep up with what I'm saying and read at the same time. It's just not easy all the time. I'm not a fan of Tavai. He is slow as hell. Best statement I've seen. But the problem with the line is bad drafting, poor coaching selections, and no commitment by management to keep good players and playing the right ones. Man, that boy, you just red pill alert all day. Yeah, just call a spade a spade. Let me ask you this, not a Lion fan, but what are your thoughts about what Robert just said here? The problem with the Lions.
I agree. And the reason why I agree is that, like I said, once again, it goes back to the organization as a whole. Like whoever the owner is, they're going to make it in their image. And they're going to pretty much like bring in the personnel, whatever, that's going to be their type of person. By them not knowing, we'll talk about the force that is, not Hamp. But by them not knowing much about football, they pretty much going to everybody else to help them. So I kind of applaud Ms. Hamp for bringing in some ex-players to come help her out. But even with that, she has to do the research herself and get involved. You know, to know about, she has to really make this her baby. Otherwise, it's going to keep on happening the same way over and over. And the results, what they just stated, is going to keep on repeating itself.
Okay. Let me see. Let me go down here and keep going down here. Luke, what do you think of the right tackle Leatherwood from Alabama to replace Big V? What are you doing with Big V? You still got to take care of that contract, right? So what are you doing with Big V? That's where the problem comes in at. If you're telling me that we're going to move on or do something different with Big V or try to replace Big V, what you doing with his contract and that dead money that come along with it? So for me, I don't know where we start to go or how to get out of that contract. If we got to wait out of that contract, then whatever. But Alabama offensive linemen have not been as scary as their quarterbacks in the NFL. That's the way I'm going to use it. But if you're telling me right now that I have a chance for I have a chance for something else, cool. I'm going to take that. Let me see what's going on with here. Why not wide receiver? The Lions only have one under contract next year because you have this thing called free agents and wide receivers come a dime a dozen. That's why. Every year I have literally spent time going through each draft just looking at who were some of the good receivers coming out in each round. In each round, there's good receivers, and it's not just one. Luke, did you look at Tamarion Terry to Mari? School and number, please. School and number. I'll try to look up his name right now. But the name is not ringing a bell right now. Let me see if I can find him. He plays for that's that receiver from Florida State. Yeah, 15. Okay. What about him? If you're talking about taking a receiver in the first round, apparently that's what everybody want and love. I'm taking Jamar Chase. So of all of them, I'm taking all of them. I'm taking Jamar Chase. I just think he's the most dominant, unnatural thing out there. So yes, I have seen that receiver you're talking about. I just had to think about it. I'm like, all right, let's see. All of you same people laughing was on the Kerryon Johnson train just last season, but how'd that turn out? What? Not a Lions fan, but what is he trying to say here? You got to be my interpreter on this.
I think he's basically talking about how people jump ship. They was basically on Kerryon Johnson coming into his not this year, but the previous year that he came in, but then he got hurt. But it was hype on him. But then they bounced off the train and everything else. I think that's the direction where he's going. So he turned out to be a bust, is what I believe what he's trying to say.
Got it. Okay. So believe it or not, my guy that year was Sonny Michel. And that was the guy that I really wanted. And for me, my issue with Kerryon, and it's recorded, it's on record. My issue with Kerryon has always been his injury history, where he's always played with a history of injury, and I've always questioned that. Now Kerryon, his first season showed some flashes, and then the second season he showed some flashes, but then he got hurt. And then I said, yep, they go to injuries, and then he got hurt again. But one of the biggest issues with Kerryon that I've noticed is not necessarily the injuries as always, but I've noticed that the Lions don't commit to the run in no form or fashion. I mean, let's just go back. There were games where Adrian Peterson could not be stopped, and then they decided to change it up, and he don't run the ball no more for the second half. Why you do this is beyond me, but that happened. And then there was games where DeAndre Swift was balling, and then they just stopped running him. So until I see a commitment from coaching, it is what it is. Am I a Kerryon Johnson fan? Yeah, I'm okay with him, but I knew he had an injury history, and that definitely concerned me, and I questioned it on camera. I questioned it and said, look, this is going to be a concern for me. Let's see if he can get through and not be hurt. And as time went on, I even said that even this year, I said if they were going to trade him, they needed to do it before the trade deadline, because once that happens, he's into a area that you don't want to be in. So let me keep going down. I got a few more. Anything else you want to jump on yourself, though? Not a Lions fan, but
I often have questions for the fans. Dealing with this organization, like what direction do they want to? How they want to? What kind of image do they want to see this team as? Like a dominant running game, or a passing game, or defense, elite defense? What kind of image do they want to see this team going forward? If I may ask that question.
That's a good question. I mean, going forward, what kind of team do y'all want to see? Do y'all want the glitz and glamour, flashy, or do you want something that's sustainable for years to come and what it resembles? So tell us in the chat what you think. Now, Dakota, he said, let's get an enforcer at safety or linebacker or set the sinking tone. Yeah, I've been trying this for years. Like, I'm not being funny. I wanted Isaiah Simmons last season because I said he could play linebacker and he could play safety. And you could put him in 3-4 and you could put him in 4-3. We went Okudah. And I look at Okudah and I go, he's the safety. In my opinion, he's a safety. And then you go through, I wanted in those later rounds. I also remember I wanted Buda Baker. I remember I wanted Byron Murphy. But I wanted those safety plays. I wanted people who can come in and be aggressive and do certain things. I remember that the Lion fan base, the guy that they was always hyping up was Grant from LSU. And I was like, I don't see the same style of player in Grant that y'all see like I see with some of these other safeties. So I'm on board with you and your thinking on that. Tua or Herbert was the pick. We blew it like we always do. The O-line is not that bad. Shaking my head. Mortal fans, I feel like if they took Tua or Herbert last year, 3rd overall, and the Lions right now pick 7th, and if they lose, and I think it's 1 or 2 other teams lose, they end up with the 3rd overall pick again. Who do you want them to take? If they're taking a player between 3 and 7, and you already got Tua or Herbert, who are you taking? Do you believe Tua and Herbert are better than the quarterbacks coming out this year? And if you do, then what are you taking at that point? Because if you say, well, we could take an offensive lineman like Penn Sweeney, well, then that means that you're moving Taylor Decker to the right tackle when he's clearly a better left tackle. So you got to kind of weigh your options. One of the reasons I didn't want no quarterback last year was because I knew that we can get our cornerstone defensive player last year. Did I think it was Okudah? Hell no. Not based on what he said. I did a whole video breaking down what Bob Quinn said, and nothing about what Bob Quinn said lines up with Jeff Okudah. I'll dare somebody to challenge me on that one. Wide receivers in free agent class is deep too. That's another good point. Baron Browner. I looked him up. Ohio State number 5. Yeah. I looked him up. Is Kenny G gone and you lose Marvin Jones, you are sure better trade Stafford and draft a quarterback. You don't have to. It's enough receivers in the draft and enough receivers. Like, first of all, Quin Cephas can play your slot, so we get him out the way. Some notable names who are going to be free agents. Juju Smith-Schuster. You're going to have people like Corey Davis. You're going to have options. I'm looking for a unit. What do you think? Not a Lions fan, but are you looking for a unit or you want something similar? You want to bring back Kenny? Because I'm okay with them moving on from any receiver that they want. I prefer us keep Jones because Jones is, he's still serviceable. But I'm just saying.
I actually had Kenny as one of my pillars going in, like one of the guys that you build off of. But there's a reason why they didn't sign him, and it could be that he had a high price tag just to stay here. And the point where I said it is why I asked the question, like, what kind of image does the Lion fans really want this team to be? That you constantly getting these high flyers and everything else, but yet and still you're paying too much to keep them, or or for the cost of a overall team. What kind of team do you want? I care less about signing back Kenny Golladay. Am I just taking away that he's a talent? No, I'm not. He's excellent actually at what he does, but not at the cost what it possibly could be asking to get. I don't think it's worth it.
And I just go back to Calvin Johnson. I go back to Calvin Johnson. Kenny ain't Calvin Johnson, and I didn't want Calvin Johnson to resign. Not at the expense of losing Ndamukong Suh. See, I go by what's hard to find, right? Like right now, it's hard to find a Bigfoot these days, right? It's hard.
Yeah.
That thing elusive, right? It's even harder finding the Loch Ness Monster. So now my question becomes, I look at players as in mystical pieces. How easy is it to find a quarterback? Not. It's just not. How easy is it to find a receiver?
Come often.
I think it's way easier to find a receiver. How easy is it to find a dominating D tackle like Ndamukong Suh? It's proven to be hard.
Rare.
It's hard. And so for me, Calvin Johnson's $100 million contract set this team back further than any contract we gave Stafford, than any contract we gave any other player. Because that money that we had wrapped up in him as the receiver never really afforded us the right to get any other receivers. And then when we got rid of defense, we finally got rid of defensive help. But then guess what happened? Now we turn around to getting rid of defensive help, and we add in a guy like Golden Tate. People forget that there was a player, had he not had mental disorders, had he not had mental problems,
Titus Young, he
was a perfect complementary receiver to Calvin Johnson. And it's one of the reasons why I left one prior 40 up there with the receivers who need separation, because you can get those receivers that get separation. But a lot of that separation is not done with speed. It's done in technique through route running. So my thing is, you had those type of guys, and you didn't have to spend that money to get a Titus Young. He just was a head case. But we have to start to look at it and say, like you say, what kind of team do you want? Let me see. Let me keep going through. We're gonna check some stuff out. Now you talking solo. Let me see. I'm going through. How about Shakai Tooney in the second at edge? Shakai Tooney. School, please, and number. It's hard for me to remember a lot of these people's names. I got kids, and ain't none of them old enough to just leave me alone. You hear one of them in the back chiming in. I love my babies, but I be want to talk to football, and they be like, "Nah, not today, Daddy." Jabril Cox, the kid was everywhere last year for the Bisons. Jabril Cox. I'm not ringing the bell. Like I said, everybody y'all put in here, I just literally go through and I literally watch the film. I go in completely unbiased. I have nobody I'm in love with. It is what it is. So I'll look this. Wait a minute, is he a safety? Is this guy playing safety? Because if Cox is playing safety, then 6'3", 233, holy smokes. And that got it, man. Okay. All right, let's see. I'm gonna check him out. Let me see. I want to keep getting through some things. Anything else you want to touch on in particular? Not a Lions fan, but
yeah, I got my question for you. What is your plans for Stafford besides getting his heir apparent or whatever? But what is your plans for Stafford this year?
My plans for Stafford this year is to put fire on it under his butt. Essentially, I want him to understand that by drafting that quarterback, your time is coming to an end. And so I'm going to need you to be smart about your decision making. If you hurt, sit your butt out. Because clearly we don't have a competent coaching staff to tell you to sit out. So I need you to sit out and be smart. I need you to think about what's going on in the process. And so one of the things that I'm doing when it comes to Stafford is I'm creating competition. Because the one thing about Stafford is in the eyes of competition, he does play his best. So I want to push him for that. But ultimately, he is now being playing mentor / bridge player, because after this year, and rather they even want to, which I don't see how they would be able to do it, his final year. The final year, they got to let him go. Because I think it's like a $35 million on the cap, depending on where the cap go at. But I'm just trying to put somebody there for him to be mentored to, and him play that company man role. So that's how I feel about it. One prior 40 says, opinion on Baron Browning. I like his game, but if there were a few games where I did not like how he took on tackles. And what I mean by that is it's just too high. It's way too high. And in this times where he's going low on people that you really should not be going low on, those my biggest concern, and his ability to get off of blocks is just not there. So those two things really do concern me. What about getting Carson Wentz and then we draft majority for defense? I'm not a hacker. Carson Wentz? Nah, I'm good. I'm good. From the Eagles and coaching staff, they're really just messing with. Nah, I'm not. If you're talking about Carson Wentz from Philly, nah, I'm good. I'm good on that. Ramon Lance first, Harrison second, Tooney third. I like Tooney a lot. That receiver is intriguing. He reminds me a lot of Titus Young. At worst, Tyreek Hill at best. Still two good players in my opinion. Harris, no. You take a what? A running back in the second? Nah. I had to set that on fire. We are going to have to do a job for the agents and free agency, but our offense isn't as set as we think. True, but it ain't as bad as it's being made out by some people. Let me see. Maybe we should try to vie out at DN. They did it with him in Hawaii in some instance, but I don't know. That was a little bit harder for me, Marcus Willis. To be honest with you, that's hard. Let me see. He's a linebacker, not a defensive end. Wouldn't be good at getting pressure like that. Yeah. Absolutely not on that. Yeah, Tavai just has to be a backup. Big V as well. Well, we got a lot of those. We got a lot of backups. Let me keep going. Do you see anything in there? Not a Lions fan, but
no. But I do have a question for you. What is your issue with Big V?
I think Big V would be okay if he's playing guard more than he is playing tackle. The problem is when we got Big V was a backup there. And when he came in, yeah, he did good. But the reason why he looked so good was because the Eagles were doing a lot of quick passes. They were coming up 1-2, boom, ball out. 1-2, boom, ball out. The Lions was like, come up, hold your block. That's not his thing. And to me, he never really got into a rhythm because we kept playing musical cheers with the offensive line. And so that was the biggest problem. So, one, we paid him too much because nobody else was giving him a contract like that. Nobody. And two, the film showed me a player who's decent. It don't show me a player that you should be relying on without him being into rhythm. He has to get into a rhythm or he won't perform. You can call me Funk says my issue with Big V is he's had foot injuries before the season. Hard to play tackle on a bum wheel. Yeah, that's another good point. Detroit.Sports.Alliance says Swift was hurt and missed multiple games and he was injured in college too. So what's your point? Well, my point is the difference between Swift and the difference between Kerryon is, yes, Swift did have an injury in his time, but his injuries weren't nowhere near like Kerryon. Kerryon had multitudes. I'm talking about from the neck on down. He came in with that as a history. With Swift, they're not utilizing him a lot in the first place. So I'm not looking at this season's results as him being anything similar or to say that he's not that good. They're not utilizing him anything. So I can't argue and say, oh, he ain't using it right. Just like I can't say, you've never heard me say that Okuda's a bad player. I just said I think he is better served at safety. I think he has trouble covering inside routes. And if you're a faster receiver, he will run past you. And so those are the things that I'm looking at that is the difference. Yes, one of them has been injured. One of them has had multiple injuries. From high school on up. That's my difference. A defensive team is always a stalwart in the NFL. Look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the blueprint. Look at the Steelers organization. Yeah, they're all about the defense. They will sell the entire offensive farm. They play and won games with Tommy Maddox. Food for thought. Lions fans in general, including you, Luke, begin to get optimistic after each season. They start saying what you want to happen, but not follow the team's pattern of terrible decisions. That's not me. I have been very objective, and I have given praise when praise was given out. Hell, I went off on Stafford after they won the game against the Chargers because I thought, no, you play like ass. Like I was, like I'm very objective. I'm going to go based on what the film say, and so. But I do agree that, yes, fans do get excited each season because each season brings something new. It's similar to where if I go to Dayton, if you meet a new chick, you do have a little bit more excitement than you do from the previous one if she was toxic. So you want to have hope. But once you come to the reality of what it is, you got to be realistic about it as well. Why aren't the Lions not looking to interview anyone on the Steelers staff for both GM and coaching jobs? They have. They've interviewed people from the Steelers. I can't think of that dude's name, Brandon Hoy or something like that, but they have. Let me ask you this, not a Lion fan, but because we finna get up out of here. I don't want to keep you too much longer. It took me a while to warm up. I salted and shoveled those areas for my neighbors in my own place. I don't know why the snow won't get big enough for me to use my snow blower, but you know what? I'm gonna hold out faith because I just want to use it. I've been shoveling snow since I was a kid. It sucks. One Pride 40, you got some good points. Got to know our scheme yet. That's another good point. And that's why a lot of times when I talk about players, I'm talking about players who can fit in any scheme. So one of the things I'm looking at when people start telling me about the defense, I always ask, well, what defense are we running? 3-4, 4-3? What do you want to call it? What are we doing? I would have capped CJ and Sue. Scared money don't make no money. Okay, what are your thoughts on this? Not a Lions fan, but Ramon the New Wave says he would have kept CJ and Sue over keeping Stafford.
Sue is the one I would keep. Calvin Johnson can be let go. But go back to your point. Sue is like almost a rare gem. Like you could, that's almost like finding like Warren Sapp or somebody. He came out the gate just ready to play, and not just ready to play. He dominated as a rookie. So Calvin Johnson, as a freak of a talent that he was, Matthew Stafford has proven that he can go get somebody like Marvin Jones or Marvin Hall or anybody else, and he can make them good. And they can actually move the ball that way. So with Calvin Johnson, I can pass on that.
Yeah, and plus, it's one of the things that I look at. Look at Calvin's rookie year. That quarterback was sitting that man into all types of setups to get killed. And that's why he didn't play a full season. And then the next year, in 2008, when they went 0-16, he had a number of injuries in those years because, again, they literally had JT O'Sullivan come on here and flat out say, we went through a whole weeks of practice and got in the game, and they was like, what's the play we calling, coach? And he was like, throw the ball to Calvin. The hell?
Yeah.
Like, what?
You want to win, you better throw it to him.
I'm just saying, like, just literally had a whole practice and decided that, you know what, scratch what we did in practice, scratch all that other stuff, throw the ball to Calvin. No, receivers are easy to find. Calvin was dope, but the Steelers ain't doing all this receiver stuff, and they're still getting them. I mean, Antonio Brown, I think what, 5th round pick, I believe. What pick was Seneca Wallace? Right? Like, let's be honest about this. Like, when we examining it, let's examine it and be a little bit objective, right? So let me see if I can find this. Let me see if I can find this post I saw. It was a post I saw a long time ago, and it was so good that I was like, yo, let me post this. Here it is. It says, since 2009, the Steelers haven't selected a single wide receiver in the first round, but they managed to draft these guys: Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace, Emmanuel Sanders, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster. There it is.
Well, if I may say, there are certain teams that actually can do something like that versus the Lions doing it, because normally they already have something in place before the next regime takes over. So they got something to build off of. So there's like accountability, respectability. Lions really don't have nothing to respect. I say that with the utmost respect to the Lions fans, but they really don't have nothing to respect from anybody. So even if you're driving a guy like Titus Young, you really don't have to have your act together. Come in here, you can do whatever you want because there's not really nothing there.
Right, and that's another part that we got to take into account, where we're looking at this team. We're looking at this team in a way that needs to be we have to look at this team. Excuse me. We got to look at this team as in terms of where they could be going, where they could be headed. That's my view. What up, though? Just got here. What's going on, Go Lions? I hope that Sheila. If Fields struggles against Clemson, he could fall outside of the top 10. That's a fact. He's already fallen in a lot of these mock drafts and stuff like that. So it is what it is. If we trade Stafford for Prescott, I'll find a new team. Well, we couldn't because Prescott's a free agent. So they got to figure out what they're going to do with him, because if they franchise tag him again, they got a problem. Why? Because they already franchise tagged him. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it goes up double. And that would destroy their entire captain team. So he's a free agent. They got to get him to a contract. Fields struggled against competition. Okay. Luke, you got to post a before and after picture of when you use the snowblower. Hell yes. I'm going to try to do that. You've been excited about that for a couple of months. Yes, bro. Like, I've been shoveling snow since I was a kid, bro. I'm telling you. When I was younger, in my household, my mom and dad, what they would do is if we got in trouble, we had two lawnmowers. We had a regular lawnmower with the motor on it, and then we had a push lawnmower. And so if I got in trouble in school or I did something in the neighborhood I wasn't supposed to do, she made me cut the grass with the push lawnmower. And my dad would dare me to have it be uneven. He would go out there with the ruler, not the ruler, but the tape measure, and be like, oh, okay, so you did good. And so that was just one of the punishments. The other one was he refused to buy a snowblower because in his eyes, he had the perfect snowblower. He had all boys, 5 boys. He ain't worried about no snowblower. I got all this man muscle. Why would I buy a snowblower? That's how he viewed it. So, yeah, I'm excited about a damn snowblower. I was happy when I got central air. You know how hard it is to get cooling in this world? So I'm just saying. Anything else you want to talk about before we get up out of here, man? Because like I said, it is always a pleasure talking with you. You are always coming with some stuff that I can at least follow. Even if I don't agree with it, I can at least follow it.
Oh, wow. I do have one question to ask you. How do you see this team going forward? Like, what will actually make them a contender right where they are right now? Because some fans would say, like, okay, other teams start from the bottom and then, they could go to the top the next year. Now, what would be that in your eyes? What could be that consider that solution?
First of all, let me just laugh at Cherie Pam, who has a picture of Aladdin. So that's funny. But 2, he goes, if we can get Nevin Lawson back, we are Super Bowl bound. No cap. So I appreciate it. But to be honest with you, it's just simple. Commit to creating the identity. Run the ball and commit to creating an identity. If the identity is going to be defense, then you need to commit to it from the fullest. So to me, if they go out and they take a Micah Parsons, then everything in this draft, especially if we keep our same 5 picks, it's got to be all defense. There's nothing else you can take. I don't want no other receiver or nothing. You need to address all other offensive needs. That's what you want to do. And you got to commit to it. But if you are truly looking to taking the next leap, you got to start building it different. Versus just saying, well, oh, we suck so bad that we got this pick. No. Get somebody that can come in and be comparable. Because right now, there's nobody on this team's defense that can threaten the other player, and that is a problem for me. We have to. My son getting excited.
I have with that. Oh, forgive me. Go ahead.
One Pride 40 says, Luke, do you prefer Red Dead Redemption or GTA? Red Dead Redemption. One, because it's cowboys. 2, it's more entertaining. And 3, it's like in GTA, once you did it, it's like, what is there left to do? So I would say Red Dead. Identity, agree. Yeah, we don't have our identity. So if we get to that, then we good. But give me your final thoughts, man, because I said, I like when you come on. It's always a good time. Give me your final thoughts.
Once again, it's a pleasure, and long time coming. I think you asked me to come on a few times, and just glad to be here, talk some football and all that good stuff. And sorry for you Lions fans, but I don't see nothing changing. That's my final thoughts.
Yeah, I've asked you and a number of people to come on. I've asked, you can call me Funk. I've pretty much opened the door to anybody, man. I don't care who it is. Come on, let's talk some sports, man. Let's do it. As long as you coming in and you're being able to support like if you were to tell me that the Lions should draft Godzilla, explain to me how does he fit on this team. Like, give me something. Don't just come in here and be like, we need Godzilla. Why though? We need Godzilla. But we need we need Godzilla. That's not a conversation I want to have. And yes, Red Dead Redemption 2 was amazing. I mean, did you know that you can get you can find all these elusive things like Bigfoot, Yetis, and all kind of stuff. It's the Gator. It's stuff in this game that I didn't even know that was in it. So, they got a serial killer and everything. It's crazy. Here's my final thoughts, people. 2020 is no longer a part of our future. It's done. It's in the past. Leave 2020 in the past. But also be thankful for some of the things that you have left in the past. Some of you went into 2020 with people who was not for you. Some of you went into 2020 with jobs that you don't want to be in 2021. That's more of a sign that it's time for a change. Some of you have made some investments in some things in 2020 that you need to get out of in 2021. I guess what my overall final point is what happened in the past, let it stay in the past. Just don't forget what happened in the past. Take that time to change your future and do something different. Be different. Be better. Because when you know better, you have to do better. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. I want to thank my guest and subscriber for coming on, Mr. Not a Lion Fan, but I want to thank my youngest son, who is simply upset with me for not paying him attention and talking football, because I'm finna go to there and get him right now. I'm sorry, son. Okay? And I want to thank all of you for jumping in here and joining me just to talk some football and being a part of it. Please make sure you go back and check out the thing. I'll answer this one question for Dakota really quick. You think Corey Davis would sign here if we live? Yes, 100% yes. In fact, I argued at the beginning of the year that we should trade for Corey Davis when they refused to pick up his fifth-year option. I actually wanted Corey Davis the year he was drafted, but he was drafted so high that I was like, well, I knew that was going to happen, but damn. So it happened. But yes, I do think he was signed here. Greg says, I didn't get an invite. All you got to do is hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, or my Discord, and I will get you on here. So please come on, Greg. Come on and talk some football with me, and hit me up on one of those two, and we'll get you on. It's just that simple. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for now. I hope you guys had a good holiday. I'm happy to hear from a lot of you and not hear about you. And as always, don't be no chump. Please do your research. We are out.